Good morning and welcome to the Stump Show, where we bring you a recap of the final day's play of the 2024-25 Border-Gavaskar Trophy. This is the third day of play at the Sydney Cricket Ground in the fifth and final test. India began the day with one faint hope, which is that the two players who had been picked not for their bowling but for strengthening the batting, as the selectors and the coach kept saying, that is Washington Sundar and Ravindra Jadeja, would manage to add valuable runs in the first hour of play and give India a total to defend. Those runs were vital because the first thing that you heard in the morning was that Jasprit Bumrah would not bowl. He had gone off the field with what the management is calling a back spasm uh, yesterday, hadn't taken the field at all in the second and third sessions of play. Uh, and without Bumrah, uh, it was vital for runs to be added in the morning in order to give India a semblance of a chance to draw this game and to retain its hold on the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. As it happened, Pat Cummins ended that hope fairly quickly, first nicking off Ravindra Jadeja and then bowling Washington Sundar through the gate. At the other end, Scott Boland, who on his debut had taken 6 for 7 against England, got a second 5 4. In fact, he got six wickets when he took out the other two tailenders, both Jasprit Bumrah, who came out to bat one rung below his normal position, and Mohammad Siraj. Uh, Here's what is interesting to note, that Jadeja and Sundar, between them, two batsmen who, as I just mentioned, were there to supposedly strengthen the batting, managed a total of 25 runs between them. And then when Australia came out to chase, India, despite not having Bumrah, had five bowlers in their ranks. They had Mohammad Siraj, Prasidh Krishna, Nitish Kumar Reddy, uh, Ravindra Jadeja, and Washington Sundar. As it turned out, Australia hunted down the score that they had to chase in just 27 overs. And what is noticeable is that Mohammad Siraj and Prasidh Krishna had to bowl 24 of those overs. Nitish Kumar Reddy bowled 2 overs when the game was out of India's reach, and Washington Sundar bowled the final over and gave away 11 runs, with Bo Webster having another good innings on his debut, following on his top score in the first innings, taking him for two successive fours. What is notable about the bowling card is that all four bowlers used, one wasn't used, Ravindra Jadeja, all four bowlers used went at more than 5 runs and over. Sundar's analysis was 1 over 11 runs and no wicket, obviously. Uh, there was an illusion of hope when Sam Consters fell after a blistering start. He fell to his own impetuousness. Uh, Labuschagne and Smith both fell to their technical deficiencies that have been repeatedly exposed in the course of this series. A fourth wicket fell, Usman Khwaja. Usman Khwaja's is the most interesting. Throughout this series, he has been a walking wicket. All Bumrah had to do was come in and bowl, and Usman Khwaja would get out. Bumrah wasn't here today, and Khwaja cashed in. He scored 41 runs, and importantly, he scored those 41 runs in 45 balls. Uh, Never let the bowlers settle. Seemed in no trouble whatsoever against India's second rung attack, is the only way you can call it. Uh, and equally important is that the first over went for 13 runs. Uh, India conceded 14 byes in the first 4 overs. When you're defending a mere 162 runs, it was all told, a shambolic bowling performance. Uh, the saddest sight for an Indian fan today was as Australia ticked over the runs. The camera cut repeatedly to the Indian dressing room where you saw Jasprit Bumrah and Rohit Sharma sitting with glum faces watching the proceedings. Jasprit Bumrah is the one that put India on a winning track with that back from uh, back from the brink performance in the first test at Perth. His absence is what has cost India the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Uh, it's one of those series that India will want to forget as early as possible. And the worst part is that this series defeat has come on the backs of a bilateral defeat against Sri Lanka, a bilateral defeat against New Zealand. This is the third in succession under the new management, the new selectors, and the new coach. A lot of questions are going to be asked. There will be a review, I presume, uh, once the team comes back. What, if anything, will come of that review and all those questions is debatable. But for my money, the people who have to answer the questions are not so much the players who played to the best of their abilities and their current form, but the selectors and the coach. I have a question. Should Gambhir be put on notice after losing two series in a row? He doesn't seem in control of the dressing room. He's finding it difficult to handle the transition. Uh, Gambhir's place should be questioned, partly for the reasons that you've mentioned, but more to the point, his strategic strategic thinking throughout the series has been completely off. He has never. He is responsible more than the others. The team that plays, the playing 11 is generally picked by the captain, by the touring selector, and by the coach. And on tour, the voice of the coach has an inordinate impact on the team that is selected. Looking at the selections, Gambhir has failed. There's no easier way or gentler way to put it. Think of this game, for instance. If you have two spinners who bowl less than 12 overs between them across two innings, what are they doing there? Why would you pick them? Why would you pick them on a wicket that looked greener than even Melbourne at the start of play? Imagine the difference it could have made if India had one more quality quick bowler instead. Nitish Rana, for instance. Today, what you saw was that on either side of lunch, Mohammad Siraj and Prasidh Krishna bowled 22 overs non-stop before Nitish Reddy was given 1 over, and even that 1 over was so that Siraj could go and try his luck at the other end. If that is what your team is, you pick five bowlers plus Bumrah, and you bowl two bowlers, and you think that only two bowlers are worth actually being bowled, what were you doing? What what was the selection all about? As far as control of the dressing room is concerned, it's all very dodgy. There was this interview with Rohit Sharma yesterday. It was first aired during the lunch break and then aired again during the tea break. I was watching that interview. Sharma was very categorical about a lot of things, including the fact that he had neither been dropped nor rested, that he had opted to step away. He was equally categorical about the fact that this is not the end of his playing career. He plays in the 50 overs and the test versions. What he's signaling is that this is not the end of the career. Does that mean that he will play white ball cricket? Does it mean that he will play both forms of the game? We don't know. But while watching that interview, what occurred to me was that it was nothing more or less than an attempt to change the narrative. in between the fourth test and the fifth test, there was a leak from the dressing room about how Gautam Gambhir had read the riot act. He had talked to the players, he had used stern words, all of that. The impression sought to be conveyed was that Gambhir was fully in charge of the dressing room, that he was making all the key decisions. And what I saw in that Rohit Sharma interview was an attempt by the dressing room to reclaim the narrative, uh, to say that it is not, the situation is not the way it had been presented through those fairly calculated leaks. Uh, yeah, losing two series in a row, losing a series for the first time ever in a long, long time at home, losing the Border-Gavaskar Trophy that India had held for 10 years. And most importantly, the last time India won the border, I mean, won a series in Australia, it did so with a team that was, the best way to put it is that was the third 11. Uh, a whole lot of players had been injured throughout the series. The team that started the series did not end the series. It was touch and go whether we would have enough players to put on the park. And yet India won, uh, and here we lost. We lost against, and it's not just a loss that will hurt. We lost against an Australia team that was vulnerable. I remember Mark was sometime in the commentary saying that this Australian team is the worst that he has ever seen. I presume he's talking about the batting because the bowling has performed prodigies. Think of it this way: a cricket team is made up of 11 players. India today not only failed to make an impact in the defense of 162 runs, it was destroyed. 27 overs is all that Australia took to score the winning runs or to cross the target. And all of that because one player was absent. I kept looking at the way the pitch was behaving, at what the ball was doing when it hit one of those cracks that were increasingly prominent. And I couldn't help wondering what the scene would have been if Bumrah was bowling on that track. He would have been unplayable. Uh, so one bowler is missing from the Indian ranks, and India looks a shadow of a test side. Against that, Josh Hazelwood, who in the test that he played was the most impressive of the Australian bowlers, was ruled out with injury. They had Scott Bolland on the bench. He came in, and he has been the most influential bowler in the last two test matches. In this test match, he's taken 10 wickets, including a 6-4 in the second innings. If your team is dependent on one player, then you have a serious problem. Who picked the team? The selectors and the coach. Who has to answer? The selectors and the coach. So, yeah, that would be my answer. Gambhir, whether he should be put on notice or he should be told that his time is up, I don't know. But I remember Gambhir in that leaked story being quoted as saying that players have to play according to the situation and otherwise they have to say goodbye. When does the coach start taking responsibility? He was the one who addressed the press conference uh, before the final test. Rohit Sharma wasn't there. It's against convention. Normally, the captain addresses the pre-test press conference at all times. Gambhir just came there and said, "You have the head coach here. You don't need the captain." He said something as insane as Rohit Sharma's position will depend on the nature of the pitch. Since when does a captain's position in a team depend on the pitch? Is that how you pick captains? Uh, it was an insane statement to make, and I think that is why Rohit Sharma gave that interview on the second day in between two sessions to set the record right and to say it wasn't depending on the pitch or it wasn't depending on what the coach thought. He was the one who unilaterally took the decision to step down, as he called it. He said it's neither a case of being dropped, nor rested, nor retired. He just stepped away for this one game. Uh, I don't know. It's this series. It's not the series defeat that should hurt India as much as the nature of it. And honestly, this Australian team, particularly its batting lineup, is not good enough to win a series against India 3-1. That's an emphatic victory. And given the nature of the batting, it's just not good enough. Australia did do a few things very well. When Josh Hazelwood was ruled out, they had the absolute perfect replacement, almost a like for like replacement in Scott Boland. And at least in the final test, they took the hard call, dropped Mitchell Marsh, and they said he was dropped for not getting runs. And Bo Webster, who was the replacement, took some great catches in the slips, top scored in the first innings, and again in the second innings came out when things could just have become problematic. Four wickets had gone, and there was still 60 plus runs to get. And he just put the issue out of doubt, playing shots all around the wicket. It didn't look like a debutant. He looked like a seasoned batsman playing within his comfort zone. All of this put together meant that Australia outplayed India, no doubt about it. Australia's bowlers did better than India, and remember, Australia in the second innings bowled with Stark so much under par that he never got to bowl his usual quota of overs. It was all Boland and Cummins with some help from Webster, which basically meant that they had alternatives. We didn't. We were dependent throughout the series on one person performing in a 11 player game. That's asking for trouble. Sukesh Saraugi says too much social media noise and comments by so-called experts hurt India poorly. Sukesh, before I get to the second part of your question, social media noise does not make you play badly. You play badly, that causes social media noise. What the experts say, what social media says is not why you why you play the way you do. Take Virat Kohli, for instance, because so much has been spoken about Rohit Sharma's form. In 9 test innings on this tour, Virat Kohli nicked off outside his off stump 8 times. Is that because of social media or because of some commentators sitting in the commentary box? The commentators in the commentary box, every single time Virat Kohli came out, they lapsed into superlatives. Virat Kohli played a defense. They said, "Oh, today he looks absolutely switched on." He played a push for a single. Virat Kohli is busy. He hit a four. That is the classic Virat Kohli. All of this was happening. Why did Virat Kohli keep getting out for almost nothing? 190 runs in 9 innings, out of which 100 runs came in one particular innings. I think if we are looking for reasons, we have to look beyond social media and we have to look beyond whatever has been said in the commentary box. The second part of your question, senseless selection of two spinners who were hardly used, while the world's best off spinner was asked to retire mid series. I absolutely agree. Uh, I'm not very sure that spin would have been effective on the Sydney track, but certainly in Melbourne. And more to the point, it underlines what the dressing room under Gautam Gambhir is like. Ashwin retired because there was no communication, there was no sense that he could get about whether he had a place in the side, whether he would ever be picked for the remaining 3 test matches, what his role was supposed to be. It must hurt a bowler of Ashwin's caliber to know that he is constantly dropped, not because his bowling is under par, but because they want batsmen or batting all rounders in order to make up for the deficiencies of the actual batsman. Selection of two spinners for Sydney was absolutely the wrong call to make. And I've been saying this from the start of the test match because forget about strengthening the batting, which we didn't do anyway, like I pointed out at the start of the show. Uh, Jadeja and Sundar between them scored 25 runs in this innings. When we needed runs, if we couldn't get runs from the top of the order, we at least needed runs from the batting all-rounders who were brought in to, quote, strengthen the batting. We didn't get that. But more to the point, on day one, the first thing you saw was grass that was bigger in quantity than you had in Melbourne. You needed fast bowlers, not spinners. At best, you could have gone with one of either Washington Sundar or Ravindra Jadeja, and had Nitish Rana as your fourth or third seamer. So you would have Bumrah. I mean, you would have an attack of Bumrah, Prasidh Krishna, Mohammad Siraj, and Nitish Rana. And once Bumrah fell to his back spasm, that back spasm is bothering me a little bit, and I'll get to why in a bit. But once he fell to that back spasm, it meant that you would still have three frontline quicks, and you wouldn't have Siraj and Prasidh Krishna having to bowl themselves into the ground. Look what happens when two fast bowlers have to operate in such long spells. One, beyond a point, they get tired. 21 overs, 12 apiece in an unbroken spell. No fast bowler can maintain the pace, the line, and the length over such a long spell. So yeah, their pace fell off. Their lines went all right towards the back end of their spells. It allowed Australia to just dominate the second half of their innings. Imagine what one more quick bowler could have done, and particularly a bowler whose forte is hitting the deck hard on a pitch where there was uncertain bounce. You saw the way Steve Smith got out, for instance. He was fending that ball off his nose. And it was not a bouncer, it was not a short ball, it was just back of a length and it stood up straight. That kind of pitch, a spinner was going to do nothing. A fast bowler would have, particularly a hit the deck fast bowler, would have been so useful. The one hit the deck fast bowler we had was Prasidh Krishna. He took wickets in the first innings and in the second. Uh, we didn't have a second one. We had a swing and seam bowler. Siraj was effective in the first innings because the conditions aided swing and seam. By the second innings, the swing had clearly reduced in quality. It wasn't swinging just as much as it was in the first innings, so he became less effective. And India was effectively reduced to one wicket-taking bowler. Is the bottom line over here? It, it's kind of look. Yeah, over here, the Indian bowlers didn't manage to defend the target that the team had put up, but the target of 162, I know there was a lot of, oh, anything can happen, and this is cricket, and India will fight till the last, and all of that, but 162 just wasn't enough. All it took was two or three batsmen scoring 30, 35 runs, and you got there. Uh, that's way too low to defend. With the Bumrah, you had a much better chance because if Bumrah had taken his usual quota of wickets with the new ball, particularly Usman Khwaja, who I think top scored, didn't he? 49. Yeah, 41 to Usman Khwaja, Bo Webster 39 not out, Travis Head 34 not out. All of that, Usman Khwaja has never scored runs against Bumrah. and Bumrah has taken him out repeatedly, innings after innings. Here, there was no Bumrah. It was a completely different Usman Khawaja. He was confident. He was coming onto the front foot. He was playing strokes on both sides of the wicket. He was playing both the horizontal and the vertical bat strokes, which tells you two things. One, the batsman is confident of the pitch, the conditions, and the bowling. And two, the bowlers were bowling both lengths. The fuller length that allowed you to play off the front foot with the vertical bat, and the short length, which allowed you to go back and play the horizontal bat shots. Uh, I don't know. It's just this entire series has been the failure of the batting unit. There's no other way to put it. The bowlers have done everything they possibly could, except in this final innings, and there are reasons for that. But the batting has let us down, not once, but every single one of the last four test matches. We were lucky the scoreline is not 4-1. 3-1 is a scoreline that shows you there are two weak batting lineups taking part in the series. It just happens that the Indian team was noticeably weaker. The Indian batting lineup was noticeably weaker than the Australian batting lineup, and that shows in the results. What else can you say about this series? Yeah, I mean, it's undone all the hard work of the last 10 years when India really had the wood on Australia. When you have a captain of the quality of Pat Cummins, who's won a World Test Championship, who's won a World Cup in the ODI version, who outside of India or excepting India has won the trophy or the series against every other test playing nation. Australia are the current, if there were trophies for each test series, there are for some. Australia are the current holders of all of them except the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. For Pat Cummins, the BGT mattered a hell of a lot. It mattered because that was the one box that he and his team hadn't been able to tick. And it was particularly important because look at the age of this Australian side. There is one teenager. Every other player is over the age of 30, mid 30s. Uh, Over the next year, you're going to see a lot of transition in this Australian side. Some of the possibilities are that Stark, particularly, could probably call time on his career within the next 1 year. I don't know how much longer Usman Khawaja has. He's already, what, 37, 38. Uh, Marnus Labuschagne, if he has another bad series, or even if he doesn't do particularly well in the World Test Championship, there are going to be serious questions about his form. Uh, None of them are getting any younger. So, a year, 2 years max. The only bright spots for Australia are that Cameron Green, once he recovers both his fitness and his form, coming back will strengthen that middle order. So you have Travis Head and Cameron Green. And on the evidence of this test match, you also have Bo Webster. So you're now building a strong middle order, but your top order is extremely weak. Uh, you have three out of the top four not in form, and one, Sam Constas, playing a very, very high risk style of cricket. One of two things will happen. He will keep batting the way he is, he'll keep getting out the way he has. And sooner than later, if that happens, his position will come in doubt. The other three are looking a shadow of their best selves. And when that comes towards the tail end of your career, you are on the skids and it's very, very hard to come back. So, I mean, the only person I can think of who has managed to do that, who seemed to be fading and came back, is Joe Root, and to a lesser extent, Kane Williamson. Virat Kohli has been slipping consistently over the last 2.5 years. Steven Smith's form has gone for a toss. And it all started with that ill advised move to try and open the innings and then come back to number four. All of that is messed with. His technique is peculiar to say the least. He's gotten away with it, but increasingly, when you have a dodgy technique and you are getting old, your problems multiply. So Australia is a team in transition. If India had lost to Australia in the previous series when Australia was at its best in terms of team composition, I'd have understood that. But losing to this Australia hurts. I think, did I mention it? Mark Waugh saying that this is the worst ever Australian team that he's seen. Uh, if he was talking purely about the batting, I think he was right. He also said that uh, the Steve Waugh team or the Ricky Ponting team would have defeated this Australian team 5 out of 5. Again, I think he was right. This is not the strong Australian outfit that we are used to. So yeah, sorry end to what has been, from an Indian point of view, an underwhelming series. Uh, the only bright spot is Jasprit Bumrah, and that brings me to the back spasm. The Indian team management has never been known for being frank about anything, injuries, team selection, form. They really don't. Uh, they're really not known for being honest and upfront. I think this is one of those cases because if it's a back spasm, what are you doing with a scan? The scan is normally to check if something is torn, or obviously if there is a fracture of some kind, which is not the case in this instance. Uh, if it is a back spasm, it is, and if it is severe enough to keep Bumrah off the field for all of yesterday or for most of yesterday, uh, then the question becomes, can he recover in time for what is next, the Champions Trophy? Because back spasms, they seem like a little thing. It's just a catch in the back. It's preventing you. But fast bowlers put a lot of strain on their back, and back spasms are not easy to recover from. I know this from personal experience because I used to go through this. Suddenly there would be a catch. It felt like a catch. You rubbed some Volini or whatever it is, and by the end of the day, I couldn't even get up. If you think of the last series that India played in Australia, Ravichandran Ashwin had a back spasm. He played that rearguard knock in the third test, uh, almost literally not being able to stand. And at the end of that innings, he went back to the dressing room, was put to bed, and couldn't even get up to go to the washroom. He was that bad. And that was nothing more or less than a back spasm. So it's really worrying. Jasprit Bumrah did walk out onto the field to bat for a few balls today. And when he was walking, he didn't look in too much trouble. But if he's unable to bowl, and particularly with an action like his, which puts a lot of strain on his body because it's those last 4 or 5 steps that really give him all the momentum and the pace, which means intense physical effort over that last part of the load up and the delivery. Uh, India has even bigger problems. You could go on and on, but the bottom line is India lost the series 3-1, and India lost because it just wasn't good enough. Uh, I don't know how else to put this, and I don't know what else there is worth adding um, at the end of a disappointing 5 test series. So this seems as good a place to end as any. So thank you all for the company, and it's over and out from the Stump Show for the time being. Thank you all. Goodbye.